Recently, one of my athletes came to me reporting this ulnar wrist pain when they're doing bicep curls. Now, upon a quick examination, when I tested the wrist extension in here, it got quite a bit of pain. It caused some inhibition. But when I tested it in the pronated position, there's no pain. So already that's starting to tell me that, okay, this is a position-dependent issue. Now, of course, we checked first median and ulnar nerve tension. There's no issues with that. We looked at the wrist structure real quick. No issues with that. We looked at the elbow. Ligaments and structure were fine. However, when I started tracking up the medial arm line, I popped my thumb into his pronator teres here, and that caused a lot of pain. Now, when I poked around the muscles and the joints around the wrist, there was no issue. However, when I stuck my thumb in here and then manual muscle testing, resisted range of motion again of the wrist flexors, his wrist pain almost eliminated completely. So that tells me that, okay, well, we've got this mechanical functional wrist pain based in this supinated position, but it's coming from maybe a lack of supination at the elbow.
What could be happening is that because the elbow can't fully supinate to find that horizontal with the bar on the floor, if it's stuck in slight pronation, well, the wrist now has to rotate up, and it might be causing some shearing on that ulnar side of the wrist, causing pain and inhibition and shutting down his bicep curl.
And that makes sense because when you look at the medial fascial arm line, it tracks from that flexor carpi ulnaris into the pronator into the brachialis. There was also some trigger points in that brachialis as well, and that will limit some of that supination needed during a bicep curl. And for a quick solution to the problem, I just simply told him to stick his thumb into that pronator muscle. You can use a dowel, and depending on what position he's more restricted in, we can do a bent elbow, and we're just going to let that dowel essentially load that pronator teres as I release it. As we extend the arm, we're going to put a little bit more on stretch on that medial arm line, like so. So 5, 10, 15 reps, whatever it takes. You can use a lacrosse ball in here as well, but just sticking the thumb in there and localizing that, and then allowing resistance to kind of strip that out, it's super effective. And then to warm up the elbows, we're just going to do some straight arm supinated lifts. So we just take a light bar or a dowel, and if he gets hung up in certain ranges, that's telling us that, okay, well, there might be some restrictions in that medial arm line. So we just tease that out. It doesn't need to be a weighted bar, but we want to lock them out, make sure we got full stretch, make sure we got full grip, and then we lift. And as soon as he starts to feel that hand wanting to kind of pronate, well, that's the end range of his mobility. So we got to tease that out over time, as well as strengthen that straight arm strength. Straight arm work with dowels is awesome. It not only helps work on mobility of the elbow and the wrist, but also works on scap control and strength at the shoulder. So this is a great example of just because we have pain in an area, testing different positions, checking central structures, looking up and down the kinetic chain is really, really important, because if we just treated the wrist and assumed it was a wrist problem, we're going to miss what the actual cause is. Working your way up that kinetic chain, we found a major trigger point and a restriction at the elbow joint, treated that, clear up the wrist in less than 60 seconds.